I continue my series of Martin Luther King quotes. Pick 3 of them to talk about. This is the second video. If you want to watch the first video, it's up there linked somewhere, or go to the website, hellomrbrown.com. You can find out where it is. The first quote I did in the other video was, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Martin Luther King Jr. Today's quote is, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. And I think what he's saying there, hate is too much to carry. Carrying the idea of hating someone is a burden of itself, not only on you, but the people around you. And I've been around people who said, I can't stand white people. I've never been around anybody white that can't stand black people because I'm black. But I've been around people who hate other people, whether because of the color of their skin, their gender, just something they did. And there's a burden, there's a cost, I think. There's a cost to you hating people. And I'm not saying that what people have done to you is okay, because I talk about forgiveness a lot and what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is choosing to release someone a debt they owe you. It's also choosing to receive an apology you never got. And I think Martin Luther King really demonstrated that by the way he chose to love people who hated him simply because of the color of his skin. And that is why I picked the quote, because it really stands out to me. Another reason I picked it was because of my grandmother. My grandmother, when she got older, she lived by herself, and long story short, my mom made me go over her house every morning to put on her stockings. Now, they weren't stockings that pulled up to her waist, which I was afraid of. They were compression stockings up to her knee. But I did it every morning, and during that time, my grandmother started cooking for me. We started reading the Bible together. We started just hanging out, even praying together in the morning. And my grandmama could cook. My grandmama cooked me some real breakfasts, y'all. I'm talking about fish and eggs and pancakes, and whew, that was some good stuff. But anyway, during that time, we began to talk about life. And she told me a story about her grandfather and how her grandfather was hung, that he was hung by white men. But it took her father a long time to tell them what happened to their grandfather. As a matter of fact, he didn't tell them for a long time. And the reason was, he didn't want them growing up hating white people. And when she told me that story, I thought, wow, that's pretty thoughtful and actually forward thinking. That if he would have told them that at a young age, what it could have caused in them, and he didn't want them to carry that burden of hate in their life to a certain group of people based on what certain people did. And it's interesting because I grew up in the inner city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I went to suburban school, and I had all kind of friends that were white, that were black, that were Asian. I saw people as people. And now people will say I'm married to a white woman, but I say I'm not. I'm married to Andrea. She's more than her race. That's a whole other story for another day. But the point is this. That story, along with the quote from Martin Luther King Jr., is really helped me to see that, man, I like that a lot. I like that quote a lot because carrying hate is a heavy burden. It not only costs you, it costs those around you. Have you ever been around people who just have this bitterness or this hatred in them, and just how dark it is around them? Because dark can't remove darkness. Another quote he had. Only light can. And I think choosing to love can be more work, but it's much more beneficial, and the results are much more lasting. Hate is too much of a great burden to bear. And if you're at a place where you're hating someone, whether because of their race, whether something they did to you, you gotta choose to let that stuff go. Because hating someone will ultimately destroy you. It will not destroy them. It will destroy you, and maybe even those around you. So to quote Martin Luther King Jr. again, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great of a burden to bear. Martin Luther King Jr. Think about that quote. Let me know what you think. I like it. Hopefully you like it, and hopefully it benefits you. Choose love over hate, because hate is too great a burden to bear. Like I always say, when you make better choices, you will live a better life. So choose well. Choose to love, because hate is too great of a burden to bear.
Shazam! Oh yeah. Put it on.
It was on.